Hi everyone, welcome to the code along video for working with the map function. The map function is a part of the ICM curriculum, but it is not a requirement. It is not something that you need to see to get started with your year. And that being said, it is still a very powerful and useful function. It's something that students often stumble into wanting without knowing what it is or knowing really why they want to know about this function. And it's definitely something that can help take your program to the next level. So you guys can see that in my code right now, I have already set myself up to do a few exercises with the map function. If you are someone who finds a lot of value in coding along in these exercises, I would encourage you to open up an editor and get it set up just like mine. I have created a canvas that is 600 pixels wide and 200 pixels high. That's why it looks very long and skinny. I'm displaying the text of the mouse, and that is mostly so that you can see how it's changing as we go through the program. And then I've also given a circle, which we'll use as another example of how to use something with the map function. So as we walk through this, try to follow along. I'm going to try and explain why this function is necessary and why it's useful. If it doesn't make sense to you right now, that's okay. It's going to come up later in the course, and we will make sure that you get it eventually. So to start this off, the way I would like this program to run is first, I want to have, when I go on the left and right of the screen, I want the color of the background to change. And I don't just want it to change any old way. I want it to be black when I start on this edge, and I want it to slowly shift to white so that when I'm on the right edge, it's completely white. And I don't want it to be completely white until I get to this edge. So I'm going to try, just to start, putting mouse X into the background, because I know that mouse X is a number that relates to the mouse position. I know that colors are numbers, so that I can use mouse X or anything returning a number value whenever I want to put something in place of a number. And if I am moving my mouse from left to right, I think that's just going to make sense for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. I'm going to start moving my mouse, and I see it getting lighter, like we're on a good track. But I run into this issue where by right about here somewhere, it's fully white. And moving my mouse to the other side of the screen, it doesn't change it. It's just always that very white color. It's not really helping me. So this is where the map function comes into play. The map function is a function that takes in a certain range of data that a variable controls. It looks at what its original range was, and then it reassigns it proportionally to a new range. So to work with this, I need to create a variable. And in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and create and initialize my variable all in the draw function. And I'm doing that because I don't need this variable value anywhere else. I'm not going to need it for an initial value in setup. My background doesn't happen until draw. I'm not adding any other major callback functions where I might want to use it. If this is something that feels really weird to you, you are welcome to keep declaring your variable names on the top line and then giving them values in either setup or draw. There's a lot to be said about variable scoping and why we make these decisions, and I think it's very useful to understand and know those ideas, but I also think that they can be very overwhelming, especially when you're first starting to learn to code. And after a while of doing this, it kind of comes up naturally, and then we will formalize that in later lessons. So I am going to, right before background, I am going to create a variable. I'm going to call it BG color. And I'm going to set BG color equal to the results of this map function. Now, the map function, like I said, always takes in a variable that covers a certain range first. So the variable that I'm remapping is mouse X. And I need to know that mouse X goes from 0, and it goes the whole width of the canvas, so it goes all the way up to 600. That's its original range. And then I want it to exist in a new range. And this new range is a little arbitrary. It's kind of up to you and the purpose of your program. In my program, I want it to go from black to white. And I know that black is represented by the number 0, and white is represented by 255. That's why when I was about 255 on my canvas, it was already fully white, and it didn't really change after that. So what this is saying is, take mouse X, rewrite its values from 0 to 600, from 20 to 255 in an even and proportional way, and save that all back to background color. So as mouse X changes, background color will change as well. So then in background, instead of having mouse X, I'm going to plug in BG color. I'm going to hit play. And now as I move my mouse, we're going to see that at the very start, it doesn't look like a lot is changing. But it slowly starts changing. We already see a difference. It's still really gray and only in the center of my screen. And it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter until I'm on the edge and it's finally pure white. This is such a useful function. Like, I can't actually get over how useful it is. And I think it's worth us playing with a little bit. We can also make lots of different variables hold the range of mouse X. It can be mapped differently anytime. That's actually why I have this circle there. Let's say that I want my circle size to change. Like, as the color of my background gets lighter, I want my circle to get bigger, like it's lighting up the room. I could make a variable for circle size. Again, I'm also making this in Draw because I don't expect to change this variable outside of movement with my mouse. I don't expect to need this variable in setup, and so I think just having it in the Draw function is a great place to be. I'm going to keep using mouse X again, but again, I could use mouse Y. I could use other changing variables. When we get to animation, we'll see that this is really useful. We get to sine and cosine. This is super useful. But I'm going to stick with mouse X. Again, I know that mouse X has the potential of going from 0 to 600. And now I just need to figure out what those last numbers on the end are. So I don't know if I ever want my circle to be all the way down to like 10. Or to be 0, that's so small. I wouldn't actually see my circle, and I think I always want to see my circle. So I'm thinking somewhere in like the 10-20 range would be the smallest my circle could be. And just to compromise, I'm going to put it at 15. Then the biggest I want my circle to be, I don't really want it to go off the canvas. I think that's going to look weird. I know that my canvas up and down, the biggest it can possibly be is 200. So I'm going to put in 200 here. So now, when my mouse is on this edge, the value of circle size will be 15. When my mouse is on this edge, the value of the circle size will be 200. And anywhere in the middle, it'll like figure that out for me. So now I just need to use circle size in my ellipse. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And as I start moving, we can see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until I get to this edge, and it is exactly 200. It looks like it goes off a little bit because of that stroke. So maybe I want to adjust this to like 195. Then I start at 10, I get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it never gets massive. If I did not have this circle size mapped, if I just plugged in mouse X and hit play, my circle would go like off my screen. It would take up everything. So circle size is a way for me to get that reactivity from the mouse, but keep it nice and confined within a certain range. I'm hoping that this video is useful to you and you'll feel inspired to use it in some of your projects. This is a great thing that you can do with your stoplight for changing the color of the stoplight so that it changes a little bit more fluidly as opposed to just a sharp on and off. I'm sure sometimes we've seen lights that like slowly fade to dark. This would be a great way to do that. Hope you enjoy it. Bye.